Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Vasunetra here. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Amitash, who is Assistant Professor in KMC Manipal, and he'll be giving us an insight on protecting youth from tobacco and nicotine use, which, as we know, is one of the biggest health hazards which we are facing right now. And I know Amitash as a friend, and he's a very good academician, and really doing a great job back in Manipal KMC. Yes, go ahead, Amitash, all yours.
Fine, sir. Sure. Thanks, Dr. Vasanethra, sir, for introducing me. At the outset, I thank KPA for giving this opportunity on the special occasion of World No Tobacco Day. So this is a part of postgraduate webinar series. Every year, May 31st is celebrated as World No Tobacco Day. The theme of this year is protecting youth from tobacco and nicotine use. Myself, Dr. Amitash, Assistant Professor, Department of Respiratory Medicine, KMC, Manipal. So the theme of 2020 is protecting youth from the industry manipulation and preventing them from tobacco and nicotine use. The industry of tobacco has been using lots of dubious tactics and aggressive strategies to attract the youth and younger generation. So the secret is out, their tobacco secret is exposed. So according to them, if their product killed around 8 million people each year, they would also target a newer generation. For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately employed strategic, aggressive, well-researched tactics to attract youth to tobacco and nicotine products. So we, being a health professional, has to campaign globally to debunk some myths and expose these tactics employed by them. We'll have to empower and we'll have to give the knowledge to our younger people required to easily detect this industry manipulation, equip them with the tools so that get empowered to fight against the big tobacco industry. So at last, we'll have to target something called a tobacco-free generation. So their secret is exposed. If their products kill more than 8 million people every year, they will target a newer generation. For this thing, they spent billions of money together, like more than 9 billion in marketing advertising, various tactics they have been using to market to children and adolescents. The people of somewhere around 1900 and 2000, they could remember most of the sporting events, especially the cricket events, most of the series were sponsored by this tobacco industry, like Benson and Hedges, Will's World Cup. There are lot been tactics with regard to the addition of flavors to attract children and adolescents, social media influencers and marketing, sponsored events and parties, school scholarships and infrastructure they have been funding, free product samples, single stick cigarettes, selling products to child children, various things they have been using. This is the chart which I've been showing how are the sponsoring events, how are the investments of the tobacco industry in these sports-related events. After 2010 ban by FTA, the sponsorship has been decreasing, but again, indirectly, they have been sponsoring these events nowadays as well. So the key messages, my topic today will be like how the nicotine and the tobacco products increase the risk of health hazards. They have been increasing the risk of cancer, cardiovascular pulmonary diseases. Tobacco is responsible for more than 25% of all the cancer deaths globally. More than 1 million people die from second-hand tobacco exposure. All the forms of tobacco, maybe it's e-cigarettes, shisha, smokeless cigarettes, all are harmful. The children and adolescents who use the e-cigarettes, they have a high tendency to go for traditional cigarettes later in their life, high chance of being addicted in younger age group, and the present social media reach is to die for. With the advent of lot of the social media things such as the social media educational platforms and all, will not be able to control what they are seeing and what they are getting advertised, exposed into. So recent survey in the Western culture showed like they have been seeing these messages more than 25 billion times. Why our country with regard to tobacco industry is very important. We being a developing country, we have a lot of younger generation of population. And if you could see the statistics from the governmental agencies, more than 90% of tobacco industry in our country is unregulated. And most of the tobacco products which are available in our country are cheaper products. So easy accessibility, and they'll not create an awareness to the consumers. Like it not only contains nicotine or cotinine or the active metabolites, but it also contains lot of harmful chemicals, poisonous chemicals, cancerous agents. So the youth and the younger generation, they get exposed very early in their age group. Most are predominantly in the age group of around 15 to 25 years. The survey showed like about 36% of children started smoking before the age of 10. Not only this thing, certain environmental hazards like a lot of this tobacco industry are involved in deforestation. So trees are being cut for tobacco cultivation and curing. So on one side, we have the advertising strategies of tobacco industry. On the other side, we cannot afford another generation to get deceived by the lies of this tobacco industry. In the context of freedom of personal choice, they have been having eternal profits. This is at the cost of health hazard of millions of people. So it's time for an action. WHO is urging all the influencers, maybe in the pop culture, maybe in the social media, maybe in the political background, celebrity background, they have to come out, they have to encourage the youth to fight against this tobacco menace, and they have to stand up big against this tobacco industry. So in our fight against tobacco industry, whenever a person asks us regarding some tobacco products and all, we being in the medical professional, we have to have a basic idea what we are doing, why the people get addicted to this tobacco products, and what are the legislations which have been governing this tobacco industry in our country per se, and how to manage the basic concepts. So briefly, I'll go through these points, and at last we'll see how the adolescent age group is getting controlled in our country. So with regard to the burden of tobacco use, there were two large surveys which have been conducted in India. One in 2010, a global adult tobacco survey, which showed around 35% of adults, about one out of 3 adults had tobacco usage, 48% of males and 20% of females. The second round of survey, a detailed survey was conducted in 2016 and 17, though the prevalence came down from 35% to 28%, and even the males and the females came down from 48 to 42%, 20 to 14%. Again, in the rural background, every third adult was exposed to some form of tobacco, whereas in urban, every fifth adult. But please be aware, this is the statistics of a regulated market. We don't know the statistics of the unregulated tobacco market. So various forms of tobacco products are available in India. These are basically categorized into the smoke products and the smokeless products. I don't know where the e-cigarette fits into. They have been promoted as a smokeless product, but again, it has all the components of a smoked tobacco. Not only it contains nicotine, it contains various chemical compounds, more than 4,000 chemical compounds, 200 known poisons, and more than 60 cancer-causing agents. So what makes a person go for the tobacco use? With regard to our country, it is basically environmental, personal, and the behavioral combination. Maybe the parents may be smoking, the smoking by the siblings and the friends, the peer group pressure, poor background, poor school performance, low self-esteem. Maybe they may get an idea of a trendy or the cool attitude. Some may tell like it ameliorates the anxiety. It gives a false sense of well-being. Out of curiosity, out of experimenting, they start using it. Once they have used it, there are some genetic components which may help them to go into the addictive potential. So in whatever form the person takes the nicotine or tobacco, it gets absorbed by the mucous membrane in the nose and the mouth to the variable products. Then it goes to the separate organs. But the most predominant effect it will have, the early effect it will have on the brain within 10 to 20 seconds. So in brain, it basically acts on nicotinic ionic receptor. The most extensively studied are two types of receptor, alpha-4 beta-2 and alpha-7. Alpha-4 beta-2 receptor are more of an addictive effects, whereas alpha-7 more of a cognitive effects of the tobacco. So dopamine and the glutamate, these are the receptors released. So basically what they make is, in the acute phase, they give something called a reward pathway. This is the same amount of pleasure you'll get whenever you go for a vigorous exercises or you go for some elated pleasurable things. So basically this acts on the 3 areas, the prefrontal cortex, the nucleus accumbens or thalamus, and the ventral tegmental area. So acutely, it ameliorates the anxiety, it reduces the perception of pain, it mitigates the symptoms of depression, induces cells of false well-being, causing a state of arousal. It improves task performance and it improves the attention time. But we should not get a misconception because of this. Whenever adolescents get into exposure to tobacco for a long time, lot of changes will happen at the synaptic level, the structure of dendrite, the synapses, the dendritic remodeling. So earlier in the age group, prolonged exposure will land up in something called more withdrawal symptoms, more reward system, more novelty seeking, and gradually they will go into multiple drug abuse. This slide beautifully depicts what happens when an adult in the later age group and when an adolescent in a early age group go into the tobacco usage. So with regard to adolescents, acute nicotine exposure enhance the locomotor activity. They were more sensitive to nicotine rewarding effects, display blunted withdrawal symptoms. They will well tolerate a very higher dose of nicotine with less aversion. So gradually they enhance the acquisition of multiple substance abuse like cocaine, methadone, amphetamine, and alcohol self-administration. So earlier the exposure, prolonged the exposure, more active potential, more withdrawal or more dependent syndrome. So these are the ill effects of tobacco. There are a lot of cancers being caused, a lot of chronic disease like COPD, coronary artery disease, peripheral vascular disease. More importantly, in younger population, it is one of the causative agents of impotence and infertility. Even the pregnant women, whenever they're exposed in the perinatal age group, there are intrauterine growth retardation, spontaneous abortion, stillbirth, and low birth weight babies. So on an average, a tobacco smoker will go for 10 years of less than quality of life compared to a non-smoker. So as I told, in the early age group, they will go for something called nicotine dependence. Body gets adapted to the presence of nicotine. So if the individual with nicotine dependence stop it suddenly, he will experience some predictable withdrawal symptoms. These are called withdrawal symptoms. So there is high level of tolerance for them. They have withdrawal symptoms. They exhibit the craving. They cannot remain abstinent for tobacco for long. They lose control on themselves. They neglect all the other pleasures of life and they continue use despite harm. There are a lot of other issues as well other than the health issues. Unemployment, living away from home, migration to cities, psychiatric comorbidity, alienation from family, broken homes, alcohol, and illicit drug abuse. So anticipating all these things, taking into consideration, the government of India, though there were many laws from long time, like 1975 Cigarette Act, 1988 they included in the Pollution Act, Motor Vehicle Act. It was not until this law in the 2003, the Cigarette and Other Tobacco Products Act, called the COTPA Act of 2003, the government was not thinking seriously. This law got regulation at all the level of tobacco, maybe it is production, supply, distribution, everywhere. So it is against the law to smoke in public places, against the law to advertise tobacco products, sell tobacco products to children under 18 years, sell tobacco products within the radius of 100 yards of school, sell without pictorial warnings. They even precisely defined what should be the warning, what it should contain, and how much dimension it should be there. They even opened a national helpline as well. So every public place must display this warning sign. This warning sign also, they define the dimensions clearly, where to display, how much visibility should be there. Even the funding and the logistic supports were given by National Tuberculosis Control Program. It was under 11th 5-year plan. So to create awareness, to raise the production supply of tobacco products, it strengthened the COTPA Act, helped the people in quit tobacco using. Whatever the WHO decides as per the year's theme, it will be implemented as per the National Tobacco Control Program. Recently, it was amalgamated into National Health Mission managed by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So briefly, after knowing all these things, we have to go for session on management of tobacco use disorders. So for any substance abuse for that matter, whenever the person comes to your clinic or wherever you encounter the patient, you have to ask them simple questions. Have you used tobacco of any form, maybe smoked or smokeless form? Do you currently use tobacco? How often do you use tobacco? If any of these questions, the answer is yes, then you have to precisely ask them the duration. They may not be opening up in the first instance. You'll have to ask some personal questions, may not be a leading questions. You'll have to elaborate the information from the family members, from the peers, and get the information. Don't forget, every clinical encounter is a teachable moment, during which the patient may be more receptive to sessional messages. So it may be second encounter, third encounter, but every clinical encounter is important. So to make the uniformity of this questionnaire tool, there is something called WHO Assist tool. 2 categories of questionnaires are there. If the person is using tobacco of some form, in the past 3 months, how often have been using tobacco products, how strong desire he has to use, and how often he has faced any health or legal issues or financial problems because of tobacco usage. And the second part is about the concern of tobacco usage. If a friend or relative, anyone shown concern about the tobacco usage, has he ever tried or failed to control the tobacco usage? This gives us a fair inference. So if the score falls somewhere between 0 to 3, the person is using tobacco for briefly or occasionally. He may not require any stringent intervention, a reassurance, regular follow-up, keep a check on the person. If it is somewhere around 4 to 26, he may require brief intervention, If it is more than 27, the patient is into long-term tobacco usage, is more into the dependence part, it requires intensive treatment. Regarding this dependence part, there is a famous, beautifully designed test called Pakistan test. So it basically assesses how much is urging and how much is dependent on the tobacco products. So how often after you wake up in the morning, you smoke your first cigarette, how difficult you find it to refrain smoking in forbidden places, which cigarette do you hate the most, how many cigarettes per day you smoke, how frequently within the first few hours of the day, and if you are so ill like you're in bed, then also you start smoking. This modified focus term for adolescent, they added one more question called how much do you inhale and how often you inhale. And there are some modification in scores, but the basic concept will be the same only. After assessing the tobacco usage, we'll have to decide upon the tobacco use disorder, the preventive aspects or the management aspects. So based on the dependence of the person, whether you're using occasionally or briefly, you'll have to go for non-pharmacological and pharmacological interventions. Recently, there was some studies on something called a cold therapy in Turkey, where a person is made to quit the tobacco abruptly, but not much research has been done in India. So every clinical visit, you'll have to make sure the person knows these things. So it is never late to quit tobacco. So within 20 minutes of quitting, the heart rate and blood pressure drops. Within 12 hours, the carbon dioxide level drops. So within 3 to 4 months, if circulation improves, lung function improves. Within 1 year, cough and shortness of breath decreases. So gradually, the patient will have beneficial effects of over a period of 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. The coronary disease, the stroke risk, the lung cancer risk keeps on falling. It is told at the end of 15 years, the heart rate risk is almost comparable to that of a non-smoker. So the basic approaches of non-pharmaceutical treatment are behavioral management, group counseling, educational techniques. So other modes like hypnosis have been tried, but they have been failure. With regard to adolescent, this group counseling will take a larger importance. We'll have to include the family members, we'll have to include the peer group. Elder in the family was not going for tobacco usage. Maybe the patient may be very close to him, we'll have to involve these persons as well. So these have been proven interventions with regard to non-pharmacological therapy, the 5 A's, the 5 R's, and the 5 D's. So at every visit, you'll have to ask the person about the tobacco usage. From one visit to next visit, how often using, as he cut down on his habits, is he receptive to your advice? So you have to advise in a strong message, you have to advise in a personal message. If you're clear in your message, like you should quit tobacco, you tell him the benefits of quitting tobacco. Assess the dependence or the readiness of the person to quit tobacco. If he's having some of the barriers or roadblocks for quitting, you'll have to assist in quitting. You'll have to arrange for follow-ups. So based on the readiness of the person, there are various stages. A pre-contemplation is a phase where the person is not yet ready, whereas contemplation is one when the patient is thinking of quitting, where the determination is one where the patient is ready to quit and ready for action. He may be receptive to our messages in a better way. So taking action already, he himself is taking some action, he himself is distracting him from the urge of smoking. He continues to be abstinent. So maintenance phase is one where a person is abstinent to the tobacco products for more than 6 months. So what you have to remember is in all these phases, there is relapse. So patient may continue to use tobacco in between the phases without your awareness or with your awareness. So you'll have to tell the patient, even if you start smoking in between, don't consider relapse as failures. Don't break down. These relapses or failures are a learning point. These are reinforcements. Come back and tell me what made you to smoke in between. So these are the motivating things you have to keep on telling the patient. So regarding the relevance, some patient may be interested to know the investigations, how they are changing after quitting and all. So if it is handy, you can do a lung function test and you can tell them. Keep on discussing with them, show them the play cards, show them videos about risk of continued smoking, benefits of quitting, identify the barriers. Suppose a patient may be trying to quit, but his parents are smoking, his social group is smoking, so social norm is family to smoke. So identify the roadblocks, help them to identify the barriers in quitting, reinforce, motivate, repeat the things. Relapses are common. So regarding the quit tobacco campaign, these things have been added recently. So whenever a person starts going for abstinence, he's in the maintenance phase. Whenever in a social setting, if he sees somebody else smoking, he'll have this craving sensation. So he has to distract himself from this, he has to delay as much as possible before giving up to the urge of craving. So he can watch some videos, he can listen to some songs, he can watch some movies. There have been some techniques like drinking water will help, deep breathing, yoga, meditation will help. We'll have to discuss with them how to come out of this craving and how the other people have been remaining abstinent. If the person is dependent on tobacco, he may not give up within the non-pharmacological treatment. We'll have to go for pharmacological management as well. So these are the withdrawal symptoms which the person may feel after stopping the tobacco usage. Tingling of hands, sweating, nausea, anxiety, irritability, headache, weight gain. But the point of importance is these symptoms are common. Only if these symptoms are discomforting to the patient or his family, then there is a need to worry. So how to manage the pharmacological treatment? What is the approach? So you'll have to discuss with the patient, start off with a non-pharmacological treatment, go for a fixed quit date. So before the quit date starts, you'll have to start the anti-craving medications. Patient may be continuing smoking with some limited quantity during this anti-craving medications. So no problem, we can call him on the fixed quit date, remove the conditioning wherever the patient is staying. On the quit date, if the patient has come over the anti-craving effect, and is not feeling the urge to smoke, you not start him on nicotine replacement therapy. If he's still having some urge to smoke or is having withdrawal symptoms, you have to start the patient on nicotine replacement therapy. Based on the therapy, whichever you're giving, either chewing gums or inhalers or transdermal patch, the duration may vary from 6 to 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, or up to 6 months. You have to continue anti-craving medications to prevent the relapse and to continue abstinence. As I told, Fagerström score again here comes to a rescue. So these are the various formulations available in the market. The most common in our market, if I'm not wrong, are the chewing gums and the transdermal patches. So there have been studies which have been compared head to head against these things. And there are various studies, various approaches of giving this, like short-term and long-term combinations. Some practitioners will start. Transdermal patch is a long-term nicotine replacement therapy, whereas chewing gum lozenges, these are short-term. But again, the transdermal patches are disadvantaged, like they cannot control the product concentration of nicotine getting absorbed. Whereas chewing gum, you can titrate the amount getting absorbed. So none of these products are proven beneficial or other. Most importantly, before prescribing these medications, you'll have to make some investigations to rule out serious medical conditions like unstable cardiac disease, unstable angina, or diabetes mellitus. Because here again, you're continuing nicotine for some time, maybe weeks together or months together. So you have to be doubly sure without any cardiac or any side effects, you have to start the nicotine replacement therapy. The anti-craving medications, basically two have been extensively studied and investigated. Now, bupropion, a typical antidepressant, has tolerable side effects are there. A very good experience with psychiatry people. Varenicline is a partial agonist. It increases the activity of nicotine receptors. It competes with nicotine to bind to the nicotinic receptors. So it's a partial agonist. There are various other drugs. The basic goal here to prevent the cigarettes from producing the reinforcing or subjective effects for some time. Then we can start up with a nicotine replacement therapy if it is really essential. Then gradually we'll continue this medication and go for abstinence. A quit date is preferably around 4 to 7 days after starting the treatment with anti-craving medications. There are some debatable issues regarding its pharmacological management with regard to adolescent, because none of the studies have shown efficacy of this anti-craving medication in less than 16 years. So probably they're not recommended. NRTs, they are proven benefits, so we can start NRTs with regard to adolescent age group. Combination therapy or its role, there are no long-term studies. We'll have to chalk out or tailor the treatment based on the requirement. High issues with dependence and withdrawal symptoms. There are very limited experience with regard to teen pregnancy, breastfeeding mothers, and lactating mothers. So it's very difficult to manage adolescent age group with regard to pharmacological assessment. So earlier the non-pharmacological assessment, more rates of abstinence with regard to adolescents. This is again the dose. I'll not go much into detail. I'll just try to emphasize to tell one thing. If it's a heavy smoker, around 4 gram chewing gum is given. If it is less than 24 cigarettes per day, around 2 gram chewing gum is given. The most importantly, we'll have to take care of side effects and we'll have to take care of medical conditions. Bupropion, the dose is 150 mg OD. Varenicline is 0.5 mg. Again, the titrating doses are given. They usually continue for around 12 weeks. Maybe at the end of 12 weeks also, if abstinence rates are good, if the patient is having a high risk of relapse, we can continue for one more cycle of 12 weeks. So the studies have shown, most importantly in our condition, in our Indian setting, a combination therapy is more beneficial rather than a single therapy. So behavioral therapy along with NRT, behavioral therapy with anti-craving medications along with NRT. Since they're acting by different mechanisms, these therapies are complementary to each other. One thing which we have to remember is e-cigarette should not be a part of any of the tobacco cessation programs. These are not FDA approved therapies for tobacco cessation. So the principles of treatment of substance abuse, you have to tailor the treatment based on the severity. You have to treat the withdrawal well. It's a long-term issue. You have to fix regular follow-ups, expect relapses, don't get demotivated. You have to be aware of side effects. So after understanding all these things, coming back to the maintenance with regard to the adolescent age group, first and foremost, being a healthcare worker, being a campaigner of this anti-tobacco, you should not use tobacco of any form, even in private. Always your counseling sessions should involve the young people. You should educate the community members. All products are harmful. No product is safe in any quantity. Secondhand tobacco also causes some life-threatening disorders. The younger people may be acquiring the knowledge as a trendy and the cool and experimental. You have to tell them in their words only. They may not be able to participate in sporting activities. They may get tired very easily. It may cause wrinkling of skin. They may look old. They may have teeth stains. It may not be looking good for them. In schools and colleges, very early in their age group, what they have been making as per the government policies are, they have been showing some charts and all where the tobacco compounds which are present in the tobacco products, other than nicotine, how harmful they are, how much poisonous they are, and how they are used in our household activities, such as carbon monoxide present in car exhaust, hydrogen cyanide in gas chamber, cadmium in batteries, formaldehyde in body preservatives, lead again is used in paints and all. So how poisonous are these? How much comparison are these? What we are consuming in tobacco products? The biggest thing in a fight against anti-tobacco campaign is saying no to tobacco. This is the first step. So we'll have to show the children how the best in the world have said no to tobacco. I'd like to appreciate the efforts of Sachin Tendulkar. He has never campaigned in his whole career against any of the advertisement agencies which promoted tobacco products. So we'll have to show them the short-term effect, the long-term side effects of this tobacco. One thing we often miss in school education is we'll not tell them the bad things. So early in their age group, we'll have to tell them how the tobacco industry is misleading the children. So tobacco creates friends, tobacco is a family norm, tobacco makes you more rebellious, it does not affect your health. These are the misleading advertisements. We'll have to make them aware in the early age group. We'll have to tell them what are the healthy choices they can inculcate other than having this tobacco. They can go for exercises, they can go for yogas, gyms and all. They can imitate a healthier quality of an elder person in their family. They can play with their friends, go for movies, go for trips and all. Another major initiative which brought by the government of India is establishment of tobacco cessation centers in dental institutes. Because the adolescent or the children may not come out with a tobacco problem. They may be fearing of the punishments given by the parents and the school authorities. Whenever they come for general dental checkup, we may pick up they are addicted to tobacco products. This may be the first instance, a receptive instance when we can start the integrated approach for tobacco cessation. Karnataka government has been very aggressive in this anti-tobacco campaign. You can see the GATS2 survey, it is showing very low prevalence and decreasing prevalence with regard to Karnataka. Lot of sensitization programs have been made by the Karnataka government. And there is something called ROSE campaign, which has started first in India in our government itself, where the students or the teachers, they took up a movement and they went and created awareness with the shopkeepers within the school premises not to sell tobacco products. And we have been very much vigilant with regard to the CODPA violation cases. The large number of bookings are there in Karnataka government programs. And many of our districts are smoking-free districts. So few of the companies like ITC, they were sponsoring the school infrastructure. So we are going against that and we are removing all those hoardings and all. So high complaints with regard to CODPA Act have been there. We have our own website called stoptobacco.in. We have been pioneering many innovative initiatives. Even yesterday's website showed like masks were given in this COVID times with the anti-tobacco measures printed on them. Last 2 or 3 slides before I end my topic. A fact check regarding the vaping or the e-cigarettes. These are the things which are form of inhaled or heated nicotine products. They contain a cartridge which contain nicotine liquid. They contain an atomizer and they contain a battery. So whenever it is heated, they inhale the nicotine part. Though they started promotion in 1963 as a smokeless form, less toxic forms, transition from traditional methods, they could help in quitting and all. But last year in December 2019 and early part of this 2020, there were a lot of issues with regard to lung injury. So when they started investigation in CDC in America, they came to know like these e-cigarettes had a tetrahydrocannabinol and sodium acetate as the additive products as the contaminants. So whenever the person inhaled that, they caused lung injury. There were some deaths as well. Even if they're not with contaminants, commonly humectants were used in these vaping devices. Propylene glycol and less commonly ethylene glycol are used. So whenever they realized what form they take, we don't know. They may take up the form of formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, which are carcinogens. They may be just as addictive as traditional cigarette. They're much more dangerous, if not equal to traditional cigarette. So it should never be promoted as a smoking cessation tool. We don't have any much idea about long-term usage of these vaping devices. As such, Government of India has banned vaping devices in 2016. Our Karnataka government was the second government to take up this thing, and we also banned e-cigarettes. So with regard to tobacco, nicotine use, and COVID-19, there are no head-to-head research along with this, but some of these smoking habits like shisha and hookah or the water pipe smoking habits, because of sharing of the cigarettes and all, there could be chance of spreading of infection from one person to another person. Any of these tobacco lung, the macrophage levels, so if it becomes the immune system and get more prone to COVID infection or the ill effects of COVID infection. Again, the smokeless products, BetelNet, because of spitting habits, it can transmit from one person to another person. So the most important health message you being a doctor can give the patient is against substance abuse. Before I end my topic, a small video of what you take whenever you take a smoke. You can see so many chemical compounds we're taking inside our body. So I thank the KPA, Secretary Dr. Huriyaj sir and Dr. Satish sir, and Puneet Nagendra sir and all the office bearers for giving me this opportunity on this talk on the World No Tobacco Day, which is very much in line with the present condition of our country, being a developing country, but to empower youngsters in the fight against this tobacco. My department, Dr. Rahul sir is HOD, Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Professor, Dr. Manumohan, Associate Professor, and my colleague, Dr. Vaishak, been always supportive to me in all my educational activities. Special thank to Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Professor Community Medicine, who gave us valuable inputs, and Dr. P.V. Bandari sir, Psychiatrist Udupi, who has been expert in the fight against the substance abuse. Thank you, one and all.